My darlings, how are you? So we're shooting this video outdoors today in my veranda in a different setup because Nigeria is currently in the midst of a heat wave. It is extremely hot, and to make matters worse, electricity has been quite erratic. There's currently no electricity indoors right now, and I don't want to die of heat. I don't want to literally die while actually filming a YouTube video for you. So this video is going to be shot outdoors in my veranda in a completely different setup. And let me know, are you guys feeling this setup? If you're feeling it, honestly, we're going to be shooting way more videos here than we usually do. Speaking of doing things differently, that is the entire essence of this video, babes. Plants that were problematic for me in the past, but I'm willing to embark on them again because I'm going to be doing things differently with them, and because there's now a change in my circumstances and in my living conditions. And this is one thing I want you to take out of this video. Yes, on this channel we always spill the tea with plants. We talk about throwing plants away, letting go of problematic plants. However, if you find yourself with different information, different knowledge, a different setup, a different environment, then perhaps take on some of these plants again and see if a different approach may actually just crack the code for this plant. If it doesn't, then throw that plant in compost bin. So without much ado, and before mosquitoes start biting us here, let's proceed with the first plant. And the first thing I'm doing completely differently. Okay, so the first plant I want to talk about, and it's going to shock a lot of you because this is a conventionally easy plant. This is not a plant that is notorious for being difficult, but I've had a challenge growing this plant on multiple occasions. It is a bird of paradise. Yes, bird of paradise, specifically a white bird of paradise. One thing you need to realize is that this plant is actually a difficult plant to find in my country. Finding this plant is like finding a needle in a haystack, and it can be extremely expensive. I have attempted to grow this plant on 2 occasions and it all ended in sorrow. The one thing I noticed that always seemed to plague this plant was that the leaves always just seemed to curl and fold, and for a long time I was perplexed as to what the issue could be. Am I underwatering this plant? Am I overwatering this plant? In the process of me trying to figure out whether this is a watering issue, I have inadvertently killed this plant as a result. It never occurred to me that it could potentially be me exposing this plant to direct sunlight that was the issue. Everywhere I read on the internet, they told me that this was a full sun plant, and this is going to be a cautionary tale for you all as well. Hey, keep listening. They told me this was a full sun plant, and then I will also see videos of people growing this plant outdoors in tropical countries and in landscaping. In fact, one of you, because I remember I actually did bring this up in one of my videos, lamenting about my inability to keep a bird of paradise alive, and I was suspecting that it was because of the intensity of the sun I receive here. One of you actually said that couldn't be the case because you live in a tropical climate and you grow your bird of paradise outdoors and it loves full sun. So I just figured, okay, maybe I was the problem. Until recently, I saw this plant pop up again for a steal. Bear in mind, this is a plant that is very expensive here. And I did something that was really sensible and humble. I sent the grower a message and I asked her, please, I want to buy this plant, but I've killed it on several occasions. Can you teach me how to take care of this plant? Babes, from time to time we need to swallow humble pie in this hobby, because at the end of the day we're not experts, we're all enthusiasts and we're all learning. So don't be ashamed to ask a grower how to take care of a particular plant. So I asked the grower because she had actually had it in her care for some time, and I was like, please, how do you take care of this plant? And she told me that she doesn't grow it in full sun, she grows it in full shade. And that was like the light bulb moment. I had been exposing this plant to full, intense, wicked Nigerian sun, forgetting that the sun we get here can be especially cruel and especially intense. And even though conventionally, everywhere on the internet, you will read that this is a full sun plant, the sun we get here was just too intense for it. So it was confirmation and it was reassurance that I needed. What I suspect is that this plant, when it is still in its juvenile stage, it cannot take as much direct sunlight, especially not our intense sunlight. But as the plant matures and it gets bigger, it can then handle more intense and direct sunlight. Armed with that information, I got myself another bed of paradise, and now Mama is going to be growing in this veranda until she's tall and mature enough, and then I'm gonna place her outdoors in full sun. I still maintain that this is not a plant that looks best indoors. Whenever you guys grow this plant indoors, because I'm sure some of you in the comments are gonna be like, why don't I grow it indoors? But babes, whenever I see you guys grow this indoors, it always looks leggy as hell. That's going to be a conversation for another day. What I want you to take out of this is that sometimes if you're experiencing challenges with a particular plant, sometimes it's just best to ask for information, care information about that plant from somebody who actually grows it in the same climate that you do. That information should actually take precedent over what you read on the internet or what you watch on the internet from a stranger that lives in a completely different climatic growing condition. Okay, but anyways, I'm going to keep you guys updated as usual for every single plant I mentioned, so just make sure you subscribe and you follow to know my progress report on every single plant in this video. Now this next one is gonna shock you guys, because this one is a plant that has a reputation for being extremely difficult, and you just have to be a clown, a sadistic clown, for you to actively collect and keep buying this plant. But hear me out, I have a different approach. Okay, it's Calatheas. It is Calatheas. Look, Calatheas are beautiful, there's no denying. They are some of the most beautiful houseplants, particularly the Calathea orbifolia. That is the one Calathea that I am willing to try all over again. I used to be a Calathea growing legend, a Calathea growing icon. This veranda used to have a lot of Calathea. This was Calathea central. But the problem I always have is that during the dry season, because my house is surrounded with concrete and we do not have as much trees in my neighborhood, you know, deforestation is real in this part of the world, it always used to get super hot. Like currently right now, as you can see, I'm even outdoors and I'm sweating like a cow. And my Calatheas will just start to decline. Few exceptions, I still have 2 Calatheas that are just thriving and are doing amazing. So now I have a different setup, especially indoors. Now parts of my house that weren't furnished before, like my living room and even my plant room, they are now properly furnished, and I can now place plants indoors there. I can now grow plants indoors there, which I feel is now a massive game changer, because I can now bring these Calatheas indoors during the hot hellfire dry season and allow them to just stay indoors where it's a bit cooler, and then bring them outdoors during the rainy season. That is the plan. Also, I now have access to grow lights, cheap grow lights from Temu. Some of you are Temu haters, but Temu actually ships to third world countries like Nigeria while being affordable for us, which now makes it possible for me to actually have grow lights for the first time in my entire life, and I can now conveniently grow these plants indoors. So, which is why I just recently purchased the Calathea medallion. She's in my living room in the corner right there, and so far so good. So yeah, this is the whole point of this video, to actually try these plants again, you know, now that my circumstances have changed and now that my setup has also changed. And if you find yourself in a similar change and position, then please by all means attempt some of these plants again, and you know, you just might never know. This next one is right here next to me in this veranda, shaded from the evil sun and doing well so far. God, I'm crazy. Yes, so this next one is Schismatoglottis. One thing I've come to realize about the Schismatoglottis girlies is that they are extremely thirsty. I think they are native to like a rainforest where it constantly rains every day and 247, 365 days of the year. Especially the Schismatoglottis berlesii, that is one of the thirstiest plants in the friggin' world. So why would I want to attempt growing them again? Well, two things. I recently just acquired a new like self-watering setup. Trust me, it's really simple and very basic, but it has been historically extremely effective. So it's like all these clay plugs that you stick into the soil. I managed to find one of them here in a thrift store, and I immediately inserted it into my Schismatoglottis Orlandii. And this babe has been looking very perky and bouncy, and I think she's really pleased with it. But I've also come to understand that my soil mix doesn't work with every single plant. For certain plants like this that are extremely thirsty, roadside soil, muddy clay-like roadside soil, they love it. That is how the gardeners in this part of the world that grow them in the roadside here can actually grow these lush specimens. If you watch one of my previous videos, I got this from the roadside, and the grower explained to me that that is the type of soil he uses, like clay-like soil that is amended heavily with lots of cow manure. And if you didn't know, cow manure is actually very moisture retaining as well. So really moisture retaining soil. And then my new simple but seemingly effective like self-watering setup, I am guaranteed that I will have greater success now with this plant than I've ever had before. But don't worry, like I said, I'm gonna keep you updated, so just subscribe. So I'm gonna do like a sequel to this like maybe 3 months later, so just subscribe, okay, so you know if this my new approach is actually effective and if it's something you could possibly implement in your own garden and in your space. This next one is actually a similar situation to my bed of paradise, and while like I've said, please always contextualize whatever care information you give, because a lot of us are all watching from different parts of the world with different climates, you know, and it's hardly ever a one size fits all. Okay, it's jade plant. Jade plant to me is one of the most beautiful looking house plants, and whenever I see you girlies in America growing it so beautifully, I'm always like jealous. I'm like, this is a plant that is native to Africa. I'm an African girly, yet I cannot grow this plant and successfully have a beautiful lush one, a mature one that will even start flowering. That is my goal and that is my dream. But I've had this plant 5 times, guys, 5 times, I kid you not, and it always dies. And for a long time I thought, oh my god, I am the problem, because the way it will die, the leaves will just start to drop. And before you know it, the plant will just shrivel. So I was like, am I underwatering? Am I overwatering? Is this the best infestation? What is the problem? I just concluded that, okay, I live in a certain part of Nigeria and it gets very humid here. So maybe the humidity, you know, and I just gave up on, you know, buying these plants and attempting it, until one day I was watching a YouTube video from one of my favorite YouTubers. I've talked about her before, the Morning Chorus, and somebody asked her a question. The person said that they live in a tropical climate, in a tropical and hot sunny country, and they grow their jade plant in full sun like she does, but they have been unable to keep theirs alive. Can she provide a reason as to why? And that was when it just hit me that, oh my god, the problem isn't exclusively me. The problem is probably the fact that I'm growing this plant in full sun. It doesn't like our full intense sun. Even though everywhere you go on the internet, they will tell you, give your jade plant 600 to 900 hours of full intense sun. Not this tropical sun, not this equatorial sun. It doesn't like a full intense sun. So I really want to test and try this, my newfound theory, and actually get this plant again. This is not a plant that is easy to find in Nigeria, in Lagos specifically, right? But I have actually just ordered one. Yeah, and this time around I'm gonna be growing cis indoors. I have a spot indoors right on a shelf in my plant room next to the window. That spot's there. Oh, that is where I'm gonna grow it. Or at worst, I will grow it in this veranda here. She's not going to experience intense sun. she's not going to experience this direct evil Nigerian sun. Even though the internet keeps telling me she likes full sun. No. No. Your full sun is not my full sun. That's one thing I've come to realize. So I will do that, especially during the dry season when the sun gets super hot here. And then during the rainy season, I'm gonna bring the jade plant outdoors in shade away from the rains, and I'll see how it goes. So yes, I have actually just placed an order for a jade plant, and I'm gonna keep you guys updated to know again if this my theory is gonna work. Yeah, this next one is a peace lily. Some of you guys have heard me slander peace lily, and I've told you all that there is nothing peaceful about this plant. It should be called diva lily because she can be extremely dramatic. My issue with peace lilies is I've always found them ugly. Yeah, I've always found, especially the more conventional ones, I've always found them like really unappealing, but that is subjective in itself. But what has been really a pain in the bum for me with peace lilies is that I can never seem to water them enough, especially during the dry season here. During the rainy season here, they are always upright, they're always happy, but during the dry season here, it's a tough one keeping them hydrated. It's not that the plant itself dies, because this is a very hardy plant. It's very, very tough. It's like it doesn't want to die, but I water it today, tomorrow it's like water it today, tomorrow it's the same day. Like there was a time I had a peace lily in my house, in my living room, and each time a guest will come and visit me, they'd be like, "Oh, is your plant dying?" I'm like, "No." I'll be embarrassed, like, "No, it's not dying. I actually just water her. Like, trust me, please. I watered her yesterday. She's already thirsty." Like, she was always embarrassing me, and out of frustration, I'll just throw her in the compost bin. But there has always been one peace lily I have been particularly eyeing and I've been fond of, and I think it's just amazing. It's a peace lily sensation. It's huge, it's humongous. It looks like a bird of paradise, but just so much bushy and compact. I am willing to take on that plant again. Also, when it comes to peace lilies, the ones that have these like sparkled variegation, marbled variegation, they tend to be so beautiful. I've also seen some that have like yellow variegation. Oh my god, I just recently acquired another one of that. I think that's a peace lily domino. Okay, so those type of peace lilies, I am willing to embark on them again. But this time around, what I'm doing differently, I've shared a bit more about that with the Schismatoglottis. I'm gonna apply the same, the same things I'm doing with my Schismatoglottis, and I'm also going to be growing this plant entirely in a pot that doesn't have a drainage hole. Okay, so if I'm not doing exactly what I would do with my Schismatoglottis with them, I would then grow them entirely in a pot that doesn't have a drainage hole. I have one that I'm doing that with. It's been a week. So far, it hasn't died. But we're going to continue to observe. Like, I just feel, and some of you have actually said this here, that if it's a plant that is notoriously thirsty, just grow it in a pot that doesn't have a drainage hole. Grow it in a ceramic pot that doesn't have a drainage hole. And that could just be the solution that it needs. It's not a rookie move. It's not a beginner move. You have to be a bit more, experienced when it comes to watering plants. Just enough to ensure that you don't overwater them in such a setup. So that's what I'm planning to do with my peace lilies. I'm currently on a hunt for a peace lily sensation. I feel like it will look beautiful in this veranda. It's going to be a beautiful plant in this veranda, and it's not even going to make a mess because it's going to be in a pot without a drainage hole. So yes. So yes, I'm willing to try the peace lily sensation again, or any peace lily that has beautiful marbled variegation again. Yeah. So let me know your thoughts, girlies. What do you think about my rationale? Is this something that makes sense to you? Am I just living in la la land, or are these actually practical steps that make sense? I could actually make a change, and that you could also potentially apply. Also, please let me know in the comments, is there any plant that you're willing to try again differently? Because the whole goal is not to just keep trying this plant again and repeating the same thing over and over again. No, we are going to be doing things differently. Is there any plant that you're willing to try again differently? Let's kick in the comments. Let's continue this conversation in the comments. And as usual, I will see you in the next video. But till then, stay safe and see you in the comments.